The secret of laughter lies in the laughing, not in the search for joy. It's a swallow winging on the wind, it's innocence in a boy. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Joy in the singing, not in the song sung, welcome but never crave. If you think that laughter lies in things, you think you'll be but a slave. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Joy in the giving, not in the gaining, grasp and you'll never sing. You could win the world and still be poor, win peace and live like a king. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Sing when the sun shines, sing when the rain falls, sing when your road seems strange. In a tempest seize the lightning flash and ride the winds of change. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. Loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. The Secret of Laughter is perhaps a quintessential example of how Ananda music is sometimes called painless philosophy. Painless in that it's, the song is light and fun and sort of the quality that really hardly anyone hearing the song could really take it as somehow proselytizing or threatening, unless that person is perhaps so wallowing and enmeshed in their own misery that they really just don't want to be happy at all. But otherwise, this song is about as threatening as a butterfly flitting around in a meadow, an image that actually often comes to mind for me when I listen to this song. What also works for the painless part of the song is that the rather upbeat tempo and the lyrical images that are given in that come by rather quickly and really don't give your mind a whole lot of space to think about those lyrics too deeply, especially before hitting you with those with the nonsense words in the chorus, the loo-ra-loo-roo-lay-ro, loo-ra-loo-roo-lie. Those are just the kind of simple words that you might hear a child making up when they're just, singing a heartfelt melody that they're making up on their own. And the effect of that is to really put a pause on any kind of mentation or intellectual processing that you might be doing with the lyrics. It kind of hits you with that little bit of the chorus, after which you immediately hear really the main theme of the song, which is joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly. And in effect then, it's getting you out of the head into the heart, letting the energy of the heart fly a little bit, fly upwards in the spine toward the spiritual eye. And so before you've even realized what started to happen, the song engages you very, very quickly, gets you into its consciousness, helps your heart to fly upwards. And as the lyrics then say, to find that inner joy within yourself. And it's really helping not just your heart chakra ascend, but also the hearts of all the different chakras in the spine, as I'll talk about in a little bit. And you can think of it also as the hearts of the individual mental citizens in your mental kingdom. And in fact, the word heart can also mean your soul, or the center of your being. And so all of these together, especially in the four-part arrangement where the harmonies bring in much more of the deep heart feeling, that we really get that sense of the heart flying. It's worth mentioning, by the way, that in the recording we just heard, the chorus has, "Joy will come to anyone whose heart has learned to fly." You've probably heard older recordings, including the one that we'll hear later from Ananda, where the chorus goes, "Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly." Ananda changed that word soul to heart somewhat late in his life, I think realizing that soul was rather abstract and less easy to relate to, whereas heart has that immediate direct relationship to the heart chakra, which is very useful, and also refers to a number of other kinds of hearts, including the soul. So I think it's one case where a single change of a word has very profound meaning and impact on the whole of the song. Now, the philosophy part in the painless philosophy of this song is really communicated in the different lyrics of the different verses that resonate with different centers in the spine, again, as I'll get to in a little moment. But generally speaking, all of the verses carry the message that happiness is to be found when we stop looking for it outside of ourselves and realize that it's something that we always have, something that's always within us. In fact, he really could have named this song "The Secret of Happiness." But as he said, happiness isn't as a poetic word as laughter is. Laughter is easier to work with. And in fact, laughter really means happiness as well, especially when you think about laughing at yourself and laughing at the ridiculousness of all life around you. Another message in the lyrics as well is that happiness is not only to be found within ourselves, but it's also to be found in the present moment, rather than having to wait for it or wait for conditions to be right or to somehow place our happiness out in the future, as implied by that phrase, not in the search for joy. It's that searching and striving, that hoping that we'll find happiness somewhere in the future instead of finding it right now. But really the song is saying you just have to express it in the present moment. That's what you hear in the different verbs of the opening lines of the verses. The secret of laughter lies in the laughing, joy in the singing, not in the song sung, joy in the giving, not in the gaining or the acquisition, you might say. So these words, if your mind is really quick enough to catch them, given the speed of the tempo of the song, really encourage a focus at the present moment, like I said. Because what you hear are the words laughing and singing and giving. And when you get to the fourth verse, you hear sing when the sun shines, sing when the rain falls, sing when the road seems strange. And you get that message to laugh and sing and give under all circumstances. Because I think that word sing really applies to all the different verbs. And that's what really helps keep the heart open and uplifted rather than making it subject to the ups and downs of life and potentially to have that energy sink. And all of this says then if you can keep that heart up, if the heart has learned to fly, if its energy has learned to go upwards and be happy under all circumstances, then joy, it says, is yours. And that's the consciousness that helps overcome both attachment to forms and the idea of seeking happiness in things, which are all qualities that, I'm sure that all of us have to struggle with from time to time. Now, like I said, the specific words in the different verses do address specific chakras in the spine, which has the effect of helping to transmute each one of them and overcome their particular negative qualities, helping them flow upwards along with the heart. So in the first verse we have the secret of laughter lies in the laughing, not in the search for joy. It's a swallow winging on the wind, its innocence in a boy. Now these are words, they go by quickly, they're very poetic, and your mind really has very little time to process them or try to think about them before, again, you're getting hit with the nonsense words of the chorus. But of course we have the luxury right now to think about them a little bit, and if we do so, we can say, well, a swallow's flight is very fluid and very graceful, and suggests that fluidity of movement, which is a positive quality of the second chakra, or the water element. And it's those qualities that help to overcome and uplift the negative qualities of the first chakra, such as stubbornness and inertia and solidity. Those are overcome by that water element and that fluidity. And then we can think of the innocence of the boy, meaning the innocence of a child, the light, childlike heart, which with the swallow also implies a kind of simplicity in the moment. Swallows just fly, chasing mosquitoes usually, and children just enjoy the moment. They enjoy themselves wherever they are, and they don't think about plans for the future. They don't have all this adult striving and looking for details and looking for meaning and all of that kind of stuff. They just find that there's joy right here in the present moment. And I can also say that innocence in itself suggests a state of childhood that is free from what you would say is the outward sexual energy that comes later in life, in puberty and then in adulthood. And that innocence then suggests a purity of the second chakra itself, which together with the flight of the swallow helps lighten again the first chakra and the second chakra energies. Now the second verse then works with the third chakra, the lumbar center, and the fourth chakra as well, even touching the fifth. The fifth here is in the joy and the singing, which is singing is something happening with a voice at the throat, and not in the song sung. And then it says, welcome but never crave. And that's really talking about desires and attachments and maybe the trying to control the world that comes out of the third chakra and the desires out of the fourth chakra, referring to what you might say is the slavery of the misdirected hearts and misdirected desires. And that's the idea of Patanjali's non-attachment, you might say, that if you can welcome things that come to you, but not crave them or desire them with the thought that acquiring those things will somehow, as we often say, make us happy, then the song really, helps us overcome that idea that we're going to find happiness in things again. And it also points out in the lyrics the natural consequence of seeking happiness outside your things, thinking that acquisitions and satisfactions of desires will work, by saying, if you think that laughter or happiness lies in things, to things you'll be but a slave. Just as Yogananda would say that many people are possessed by their very possessions. Another message of this verse is to focus on action, that is the singing, rather than the outward results or the details, which is the song sung. And that's a simple idea that helps to overcome the quality of depression, or the emotional state of depression, which is a kind of stagnant inertia. And it's to say that if you want to get out of a rut, then just sing anything with energy, with gusto. Do anything with energy and enthusiasm and gusto. Because once you put out that energy and enthusiasm, especially if you do it in service to others, which helps get you out of self-involvement, which is very much a part of the state of depression, then you'll find yourself transformed and uplifted and able to then do whatever it is you want positively. And this is what Swami Kriyananda says in day 3 of Secrets of Emotional Healing, to which he assigned the secret of laughter. He writes that the secret of overcoming depression is useful activity, devoted selflessly to serving others. Now, overcoming the idea that possessions somehow make you better and lead to greater contentment comes up now in the third verse. Joy in the giving, again action, not in the gaining or the possession. The thought of giving addresses the tendency toward selfishness, that is the gaining, by encouraging self-expansion, or the giving. As Kriyananda writes in the Affirmation for Generosity in his book Affirmations for Self-Healing, he says, "What I give to others I give not away, for in my greater reality they remain ever mine." And it's expansiveness there that's a quality of the throat chakra that serves to uplift the heart into the peace of that higher center. And then the verse continues with the line, "Grasp and you'll never sing." There's a number of things we can derive out of this. Singing again is an activity of the throat, and if you grasp, that's like an idea of a constricted throat, and how can your voice or your happiness sing naturally when there's that kind of constriction? It also can apply to egoic desires and greed and so forth at the medulla, which is also a constricting energy of grasping and wanting things for itself. And both together, that grasping and that tension in those chakras prevents the energy from rising further in the spine from all of these lower chakras. And so it's really saying that you can't be happy if you can't, if you grasp at those things and try to hold happiness for your own, you'll never sing, which is to say you'll never really be happy in yourself. Now the verse ends with the wonderful little phrase, you could win the world and still be poor, win peace and live like a king. It's really just saying that, even though people try to live like kings with a lot of wealth and possessions and so forth, if they don't have inner peace, then they're really quite materially poor. It's like that story in chapter 41 of our Autobiography of a Yogi, where Alexander the Great, having come to India, wants this particular yogi to come to him, and the yogi just says, well, I don't want anything from Alexander, so why should I go? He should come to me, because I'm content in my kingdom laying on this bed of straw here in the forest, and whereas I see him with all his armies going to and fro, for what purpose, I don't know. So win peace and live like a king. That's really also the same message that we hear in the song If You're Seeking Freedom, where the last verse is also bringing the heart's energy up the spine through the throat and the medulla to the spiritual eye, and ending with the line, once your heart is free, you'll be king everywhere. Joy will come to everyone whose soul or whose heart has learned to fly. All of those things really help us keep that heart energy upward, keep it focused up here to find that inner peace and that freedom. And as such, the secret of laughter helps to overcome other qualities like envy and generosity, where we're wishing we had things that other people had, right? And so Kriyananda also assigns this song to day 25 of Secrets of Emotional Healing, saying, the secret of overcoming jealousy is to realize that no human being ever owns another. Each stands alone before eternity. That man or woman who most truly loves is inwardly free and who grants perfect freedom to all. Everyone must grow at his own pace to find his rightful position in the great scheme of things. And allowing yourself to grow at your own pace is realizing that if you don't have things that others have, that's fine. You have what you need to work with, and that's where you'll find your growth. So really, the secret of laughter tells us that that the key to happiness is contentment rather than discontentment. That we don't have to go running off and seeking wealth and material possessions somehow in a search for peace after all that striving, because the peace is already something we have. The happiness is already something we have, that we just need to remember, like innocent children, that it's something right here in the present moment. And thus, when you make peace one of your highest priorities, as Kriyananda often recommended, then you can be happy all the time, under all circumstances. And that's what the last verse says. Sing when the sun shines. That is, be happy when the sun shines. Be happy when the rain falls. Be happy when the road seems strange. That even-mindedness is a quality of the spiritual eye, the vision of which is to see that everything in life, everything that goes on in the world, no matter how ridiculous it may be, that is, the road seems strange, right? And the world certainly is a strange place. That in that vision you see that everything has a purpose, primarily that every soul and every living creature and the plants, the animals, the rocks, the human beings, all of that are all trying to work out their karma as quickly as possible to return to their true home in God. And with that calm vision of purpose, then you'll be able, as the song says, in the tempest or in the storms of life, to seize the lightning flash and ride the winds of change. It's like a skilled surfer riding the winds and the waves, who not only surfs on those waves and the winds, but can actually enjoy it and have a lot of fun in the process. And in a way, too, these words subtly suggest that focus at the spiritual eye, which is where you may in fact see flashes of the inner light, or the inner lightning, you might say, and perhaps also hear the thunder of Om. So all in all then, the secret of laughter is, like I said, an antidote for these number of different negative emotions that involve putting your happiness sometime in the future or making it dependent on external conditions or possessions. Those emotions lead not only to discontentment and depression and jealousy, as we've said, but then also to disappointment and the stronger related emotion of disgust, or just being completely fed up with life. But again, what the Secret of Laughter is telling us, that the answer is very simple. Live wholly in the present moment, with your focus on action instead of results, and let your heart fly like a butterfly joyously upwards.
The secret of laughter lies in the laughing, not in the search for joy. It's a swallow winging on the wind, it's innocence in a boy. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Joy in the singing, not in the song sung, welcome but never crave. If you think that laughter lies in things to things, you'll be but a slave. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Joy in the giving, not in the gaining. Grasp and you'll never sing. You could win the world and still be poor, win peace and live like a king. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Sing when the sun shines, sing when the rain falls, sing when your road seems strange. In a tempest seize the lightning flash and ride the winds of change. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly. Luru-luru-lero, luru-luru-lai. Joy will come to anyone whose soul has learned to fly.